What's going on, guys? E here, and today I'm going to be making a video for anybody out there that might be confused about Apple's iPad lineup and deciding which device they want to get. I was in that position not too long ago and I decided to go with the Pro. I made a video about that, which is down below. For anybody else that is deciding between, getting the basic iPad or the Mini or the Pro or the Air 4, this video is for you. I'm going to be going through all of my thoughts on those devices, who should get what. And although you don't need to listen to me, I'm hoping that I could just kind of help you guys out and give my thoughts on these devices. Now, before I get into the video, I'm just going to ask you guys to look below and smash the subscribe button for me. It'll really help my channel grow and I appreciate it. I do a lot of content on iPads, iPhones, anything Apple related or any tech things. I'm going to be talking about it on this channel, so if you could go ahead, hit the subscribe button and help me out. Now, getting straight into it, of course there are many iPads, as all of you know, and it can get confusing. So let's just start from the bottom. I'd say the basic iPad, or what I call the basic iPad, is just the regular iPad. It's the Generation 8, which was released by Apple just a couple of weeks ago. It's not been out for long, but it's the device for a lot of people. This is a basic iPad. You get a lot of things that all of the other iPads can do, but at a good budget price. It's just the way that they do it is a little bit different. So let's go over some of the features of the basic iPad. It was released in September 2019. It comes in either 32 gig or 128 gig. It features the A12 chip, which was also in the last year's iPad Air 3, and it's also in the iPad Mini. So it's a good chip, very fast, can do a lot of tasks, and it's held up well because I had the iPad Air 3 and I really enjoyed it. Other things about this iPad: it has a 3.5mm headphone jack, it has stereo speakers, Touch ID, comes with Wi-Fi or cellular, supports the Apple Pencil, and it has a 10-hour battery life. So who's this iPad for? This iPad is for a lot of people. I think a lot of Apple customers that are not in the Pro category would really enjoy the basic iPad. It's for people that just want to browse the web, they just want to do light tasks, they just want to watch Netflix or anything that doesn't really need a high intensive processor. And the funny part about it is this actually has a pretty good processor, the A12, as I mentioned before. So you have a really reliable chip. Apple really updated and surprised a lot of people by adding the A12 chip to that iPad, because it's not really a slouch anymore. It can do a lot of tasks, but not everything, of course. That'll just really cannibalize the rest of the sales. So there are a couple things that hold it back. Things that I wouldn't call cons, but just aren't for people that want more in an iPad. So one of those cons would be that it has Touch ID, and this might depend on your preference. Me personally, I can never go back to Touch ID. I don't like it after using Face ID, but it has Touch ID, and it has the older design that Apple used for all the iPads for years. It's not as current looking as the iPad Pro or even the iPad Air 4. It's still a good design, the design that we love, but it's just not really what I like anymore. Another thing that really holds it back from being, a better tablet or recommendable to everybody is the fact that the base model comes in at 32 gigs. So that's a little bit of space. That's not a lot. If you're doing basic things, as I mentioned before, like browsing the web, Netflix, then you might be able to get away with it. However, if you're like saving movies from Netflix or something like that, you're gonna run out of space pretty quick. And at that point, you're gonna have to upgrade to the 128 gig, which is highly recommendable, but it's getting closer to the iPad Air 4 price, which has a lot of extra features, which I'm going to get into in a bit. Those are just some things to consider. It also doesn't have USB-C, which I expect at this price point. Why would it have USB-C? One thing that really is not great about the basic iPad is that it has an air gap. It doesn't have a laminated display, so basically what that means is that there is an air gap because the display and the glass are not one piece. It's not laminated on, so basically you see this air gap, and it is something that you might not notice at first, but once you step up to the other devices, you're going to notice that after going back to the basic iPad. In a nutshell, if you don't plan to do heavy duty things like hardcore video editing or photo editing, then this device will be for you. But if you are planning to do those things, you might want to go and step up and get one of the other devices. Now, the iPad Air 4 is literally the device that I've been waiting for about a year. It has great specs, it has an updated design, it has USB-C, so it has all the features that that I want. I made sure that I just didn't buy a Pro yet until I saw all the specs of the iPad 4, and then Apple announced it and gave me all of the specs I wanted. It has USB-C, it has a new A14 chip, it has various colors, all of them are pretty vibrant, it has a true tone display with 500 nits of brightness, and it has a laminated display, so no air gap that the other iPad has. It has a new Touch ID location, and it has stereo speakers. It has the same camera as the iPad Pro, but it doesn't have wide angle and flash, and it also has many other features as the iPad Pro, such as the square design, USB-C, and it can be paired with the Magic Keyboard as well. It's an overall great tablet, like literally it's what I would buy, and I'd suggest a lot of people buying this. So it's a great device, but who exactly is it for? I'd say it's for students, so people that need a little bit more than the basic things. So you might want to buy a Magic Keyboard and use this as one of your main computers. You might be able to do that. Or somebody that is like a photographer that can take advantage of the USB-C, or somebody that edits videos and needs to take advantage of the USB-C, or anybody that does a little bit more intensive tasks than compared to the basic one. You could do a lot of that stuff on this iPad Air 4, so I'd highly recommend it for those types of people. But who isn't it for? Not really for artists or people that depend on ProMotion. If you need that when you're drawing and you really notice the difference, you're not going to see that on the iPad Air 4. So although it does feature a new A14 chip, that chip isn't exactly better than the chip that was released in the 2020 iPad Pros, the A12Z. Actually, according to benchmarks, it really isn't faster. So if you need more speed, you're gonna have to go with Pro. And that's not to say that the A14 is a slouch. It's a really good processor. However, it's just not as fast in certain areas as the one in the new 2020 Pros. You're also gonna miss out on the HDR display from the Pro, and this other thing, which I spoke about in my last video, and it might not matter to a lot of people, but if you live in a country such as I do, where the prices of tablets or iPads are a bit more compared to the US prices, sometimes it gets expensive and you might not be able to afford the Air 4. So for example, for me, the iPad Air in Canada, the one that I get is the 256 gigs, but that costs $979, whereas the 128 iPad Pro only costs $70 more at $1,049. So it's a lot better because you get ProMotion, you get 4 speakers, you get the HDR display, faster processor, all that for $70 more. It's more worth it to go towards that. So those are the people that should not buy it. So I'd say check your country, like the Apple store in your country, see how much it costs, because they might have overpriced it. But if you live in the States, honestly, if you don't need those things that I just mentioned, the iPad Air 4 might be a better bet. Now let's talk about the iPad Pro. So this is the one that I got. It does suit my needs. I could have went with the Air 4 if it was a bit cheaper and still got everything that I wanted in a device, but the price difference, as I mentioned earlier, it wasn't worth it to go with the Air 4 and waiting for that device when I could just get the Pro now, get better features. What features do you get with the Pro? Again, you get 120 Hz display with ProMotion, you get 4 speakers on the device, you also get a fast processor with the A12Z. It's the fastest processor that Apple offers compared to the other iPads, and it also has studio quality microphones. It also has USB-C port, HDR content, as I mentioned before, and a little bit of fun features such as Animoji. I mean, it's weird on an iPad Pro, but hey, it's fun. So who is this iPad Air for? For people that edit a lot of videos on their iPad, or somebody that is using their iPad as a replacement for a laptop, which is someone like me. Any of them could be a replacement for your laptop, to be honest, but this just does it the best. It's like if you're using a MacBook Pro and you're going and you're used to editing videos on the Pro, it might be easier for some people to edit on the iPad Pro because it could handle those tasks. If you pair it with the Magic Keyboard or any other keyboard, it works really, really well. If you are an artist or somebody that's creative and you need to use the 120 Hz display, you're gonna want to get this, because when you use the Apple Pencil, it's very clean, very easy to draw with and create content with. And it's really good for people that are just on the go and just don't want to bring a laptop, but you want to bring an iPad that can handle a lot of heavy duty tasks. What are the cons? I don't really like the Face ID placement. I spoke about that in my review, which is also linked below, but I don't like the placement of it. I do appreciate appreciate it that it even has Face ID, because again, I'm never going to go back to Touch ID after using Face ID. Other thing that you should consider if you're going to buy the Pro, which is something that's a new development, is that Apple apparently or allegedly is going to release a 12.9-inch update which features mini LED and other processor updates. So that might be something that you're interested in waiting for if you're going for the 12.9 version. I got the 11-inch, so I don't expect it to be updated for until next year or maybe the next 2 years. I'm gonna be interested in seeing how that goes, but if you're going for the 12.9-inch version, maybe you want to wait till the year finishes off before you go and buy the Pro. Or honestly, there's always something new coming, so you might as well just buy it now. Either or. And last but not least, although it is kind of least, but it is the iPad mini. I've owned an iPad mini and it's a great device. You get the A12 chip in such a small device. The iPad mini is geared towards people that appreciate portability. So if you don't want to carry around a large iPad such as the iPad Pro with the keyboard case, you can carry around the iPad mini, and it's really good for things like reading books, for browsing the web, reading documents quickly on the fly. Maybe you're on the subway, you don't want anything heavy in your backpack. Maybe you don't even want to carry a backpack, you just want to carry your iPad, put it in your jacket pocket and go. So it's for the people that enjoy portability but also need access to a device that can do a lot of things. And with the A12 chip, again, you can do a lot of things with that. Some things that I don't like about it is literally the size. So it's really small, so it doesn't work for me, but if it works for you, then go ahead and buy it. Another thing that I don't like about it is that you can't use any of the accessories, such as any of the keyboards that Apple releases, such as the Magic Keyboard or the Smart Keyboard, just because of the size. It'll be interesting to see if Apple will create like a small keyboard for that, but it's just not really practical, or it might not be for a lot of people, so I don't know if Apple will do that. But that is just something to keep in mind when you're purchasing it. It's also not the greatest for productivity. I mean, you can type an essay on it and you can take notes on it, but it's just a smaller display, and again, without the keyboard, it's just a little bit harder. You can get a third-party Bluetooth keyboard and a mouse and it works well, but still the display is small, so it just depends on what size you're willing to go with. But that's pretty much it, guys. If you enjoyed the video, go ahead and give it a thumbs up. If you didn't like it, give it a thumbs down. Those are my thoughts on all the iPads. Again, I can't really tell you what to buy. I can just kind of help you. Yeah, so drop a comment below. Let me know what iPad you're looking at. What do you think about my price dilemma? Thank you guys for watching so much. I'm going to see you guys in the next one. Peace.